Hey Raghunath, tell everyone about our Patreon community.
Sure, Kastuba. The Wisdom of the Sages Patreon community is an incredible online yoga resource. If you like the type of yoga wisdom and culture we share on the show, then our Patreon community is a great next step. This is a listener-supported podcast, and any level of sponsorship will unlock a wide range of live and archived classes, talks, and even workshops.
Raghunath teaches, I teach, and we have a host of other excellent teachers on topics ranging from yoga philosophy, asana classes, storytelling, Ayurveda, kirtan, cooking, meditation, and a lot more.
We even have an incredible online Bhakti 12-step recovery group.
So if you want to check it out, go to patreon.com/wisdom of the sages.
All right, let's get it on.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Live from the Govardhan Eco Village in beautiful Maharashtra, India. This is Wisdom of the Sages, a daily yoga podcast with your host, Raghunath, and co-host and senior educator at the Bhakti Center in New York, Kastuba Das. Welcome to the show, everybody. And we're here live with a huge live crew. Harry Bowl. Say Harry Bowl, everybody. Hear that? We have special mics that sort of mute out all sounds. But if you didn't hear it, it was a really loud, like almost like Shea Stadium. Like that, with our whole Wisdom of the Sages family who showed up live today in India. Really exciting to have everybody on board. And we are here at the halfway mark of our Govardhan Eco Village wisdom training. The Kirtan people left yesterday. 300 hours is still plowing it through, heading full steam ahead to the Flower Festival. Looking forward to that. Hey, Kastuba, where are you going after this?
I go to, my wife and I go to Varkala with her
you go
brother.
to the beach.
With her brother, Tapasvi Swami, actually, all three of us.
Isn't that interesting? Isn't that interesting that Kastuba's, is it interesting or is it completely expected? Kastuba's wife's brother is a sannyasi.
Yeah.
Isn't that interesting? And you're going to go to the beach with a sannyasi?
That's what we're going to do. Well,
all right.
It's not just
That's
a beach.
my kind of sannyasi.
It's a temple town. It's an ancient temple town.
It's an ancient temple town, Varkala. I think
to be a beach
Lord
there.
Chaitanya
We
went
might
there.
spend a little time at the beach.
You might spend a moment at the temple.
No, it's actually great. You can spend lots of time at both. You know, you go down early in the morning, you swim in the afternoon, you go to the temple in the evening.
It's nice.
Going to that temple in the evening, this is like a 500-year-old, no, it's not 500 years, it's much older than that, but 500 years ago, Sri Chaitanya visited there. And it's the temple of Lord Vishnu. And
I got a funny story. Do you know my story?
Yeah, well, I have a feeling I know when we got kicked out of that temple.
Yeah, were you with me then?
Yes, I was with you.
Yeah. Go on, you tell the story and then.
Well, I'm just saying, it's a beautiful ancient temple, sitting on a cliff, basically, and it's just when you go there in the evening. One of the features of the temples in South India is commonly they have like, especially in Kerala, all around the walls of the temple are thousands and thousands and thousands of like little cups that they pour oil in and put ghee wicks or put wicks in, and then as it's just getting dark, they light all these lamps. So it's like just like literally thousands and thousands. It's really
from
beautiful.
Another time in history.
Yeah, and they're playing these shanai and the drums there, and really you feel like you walk back, into centuries ago in India, centuries ago. So it's really nice to spend time there, and you also get to spend some time at the beach.
Yeah, that's great.
After that, I'll go to Mayapur.
You want to hear my story about getting kicked out of that temple?
I was there.
You're with me. Shall I tell the story?
I was also kicked out.
You're also kicked out. Well, we had with us a very powerful brahmachari. Radhakund is this big, giant, and very learned and smart, and a
sweetheart too,
and a sweetheart, and like a giant teddy bear too. But he's a big guy, and he's not intimidated by anyone. So we were about to go to the temple, a bunch of Americans going into the temple, and sometimes in South India, because you got to understand, there's been a lot of invaders in India that have come, robbed, killed, decimated temples, looted the temples. So they developed this thing like outsiders not welcome. This is a sacred
sure
place.
if I'm buying that though.
Buy it. It's true. It's like a
I'm not
history
sure,
book.
but I don't know if that's the reason.
Well, the idea is that if you're born outside the Vedic culture, you don't know a lot of the cleanliness that goes in when you go into the temples. And I think because of that, they're just unwelcome to foreigners. Not in all temples, of course. In northern
In
India, not so much.
Even in the south, there are certainly many, many, many temples where it's not an issue, but there are many temples in South India where it's just like,
Not welcome.
foreigners not allowed.
So a big chokidar came up with the guy with a stick guarding the temple gates. And we were all excited and we were chanting outside the temple. It was really exciting. And then we went to enter and he goes, "Ugh," and he didn't speak our language. So he was just yelling at me. And I was like, and all the students are sort of scared and a little bit freaking out. And I was like sort of smiling. I just got out of a kirtan. And I hear Radhakund, our guide, start yelling at him. And then he starts yelling at Radhakund. And he started pointing to a sign. And Radhakund goes, and it was in English. And Radhakund goes, "Read the sign. You told me to read signs? You read the sign."
I think he was, the guard was pulling some kind of technicality, like they can't enter because of this, but he was like saying, no, look at the sign.
It says,
There's nothing saying that they can't come in.
it says those of, those who don't have faith or something.
Non-Hindu,
What's that?
maybe non-Hindu's not allowed or something.
No, it says something. Those who don't have faith cannot enter. He said, "Read the sign." And the guy was like, he said something, "I can't read." Like I was, he didn't read English. Understandable. He's from South India. And he goes, "I can't read." And he goes, "It says those who do not have faith cannot enter." Radhakund said that.
Yeah.
And he goes, "But they do have faith. They all have faith. Don't you all have faith?" And we were like, "Yeah, we have faith." He goes, "Raghunath, get them in that temple." I was like, "Are you sure?" He goes, "Yes,
Well, now,
go in that temple."
I have to tell you something. I went to the temple earlier than you. I was already in the temple.
Yeah.
Right, I was in there. It was peaceful. It was quiet. Everything was like, and then suddenly I hear this commotion outside, and then you come in leading a kirtan, right?
Well, it was sort of like we were going in, sort of like Shri Krishna Govinda, Hari Mara. We're all scared out of our mind, ready to get a bamboo stick slapped over my skull. But it worked out wonderful. And then we got
they kicked us out.
Yeah, but we did go in. We had darshan, and they were like, "Okay, out. You done your work here."
I could tell a story, similar circumstances, but one year it was like the winter. It was 6 months actually. We went in September. My wife and I went to India for 6 months. We began in September of 2007, and we stayed there until I don't know, March or something, 2008. You with me, Raghu? I'm talking to you.
Yes.
I need you.
Yes, I'm getting.
Okay.
I was distracted there.
I know. and so we traveled all over, and first all over the north, and then we went to the south. And we went to, when we got to the south, first place we went to was Tirupati.
Tirupati, great place.
Oh, incredible place.
Famous temple.
And then we went to Kanchipuram, incredible
Kanchipuram.
place. Then we went to Sri Rangam.
Sri Rangam.
Incredible place. But by the time we got to Sri Rangam,
I got a Sri Rangam story for you.
You've never been to Sri Rangam?
Huh?
You've never been to Sri Rangam?
I just met a lady from Sri Rangam.
Right.
Why can't I have a story about Sri Rangam?
You can. All right. Easy. No. So by the time we got to Sri Rangam, we were kind of getting worn down. Kind of getting a little sickly, kind of getting tired.
Traveling in India is exhausting.
And we were going for months. And then our next place was Madurai. And we were just, someone had set up a family for us to stay with. Radhakund set up a family for us to stay with. And we didn't know what the situation would be. We're just like, we hope it's going to be good. We're tired. We're worn out. And we got to Madurai, and they just took such beautiful care of us, the family there. They were like they own like the biggest gold shop in Madurai. So like they had this whole building that we were staying in. In one sense it was simple, but it was like big, and there's like all different levels of their family living in that building. And Madurai is where everybody goes to get married in South India, because it's where Lord Vishnu held the marriage for Durga and for Shiva.
Ooh.
Yeah, for Meenakshi. Meenakshi is the goddess there. And that temple, architecturally, I've never seen anything on that level in my life.
Very stunning temples in South India.
So the next place we went to They put us on a train. They made us idli all wrapped up in banana leaves. It was the fluffiest stuff I've ever had in my life. It was incredible. But when we got to the next place we went to was across South India to Kerala, to a temple town called Guruvayur.
Guruvayur.
This place, what happened was we had heard that we might not be allowed in. And my wife was not, she was just like, why don't you go first, see what the deal is. I don't feel like going through a whole thing. She was kind of worn down. And I said, sure, I'll go check it. So I went in there in the afternoon. Hardly anyone was there. I walked right through the gates. No problem. And that temple, let me tell you, you want to talk about stepping into to centuries ago. That you want to talk about a Sattvic atmosphere. It was mind-blowing. Just like, it's hard to describe how special that place was architecturally and the vibe in that place. It was incredible. And so I walked out, I spent time in there. I came out, I went and told my wife, hey, this is great. They let us in, no problem. Let's go this evening. So that evening we got there, but there was a lot more crowded and there was a lot more attention to who they were letting in. And we waited in line till we got to the front. And we got to the front, they said, nope. No non-Hindus, no foreigners, no.
Like
basically,
did you say Hindu?
White people not
Hindu.
allowed.
Hindu.
Huh?
You're being racist.
I did.
I'm a Hindu.
No, what I did was I figured this is hopeless. He's probably not gonna let me in. But I wasn't getting angry.
Money?
No,
Money,
I wasn't
sir?
getting angry, but I was just politely challenging this a little bit. And then there was this priest there, and he didn't have the sweetest mood. Let me put it that way.
Yeah.
And okay, I'm saying you're saying that I'm not a Hindu. I'm telling you that I am a Hindu. And what do I need to prove to you that I'm a Hindu? Would you like me to quote shlokas from the Shastra? How do you want?
Challenge him
Like-
philosophically. Smart, because this is going to tie in with our theme today.
So he was getting just. It's hard to describe the mood, but it was just not. It was it was honestly, it was like racism. It was like he was looking at me and like, you're not qualified to get in here.
Right.
And then at one point he looked at me and he said, you maybe. And then he pointed at my wife, Blondie over here.
Right.
And said, you no. Just like that.
Come on.
And as this was going on, it wasn't really creating commotion, but it was just holding things up a little bit. And a guard, I think it was a police officer actually.
Yeah.
A police officer came over and he was very apologetic to me and to my wife. And he was like, I'm very sorry. They have certain rules here. I know that you've come from like the other part of the world and you've come so far to see Guruvayur, to see Lord Vishnu. He was expressing his appreciation for that. He was being very, very sweet and very polite and very apologetic. And he said, I'm sorry, but they will not allow you in here. And at this point, I didn't want to create a scene or anything. So
Sure.
I said, okay. But then we stepped out of the line and the line continued. But he continued to speak to us. And he said, he began to open up his heart. And he said, to see that people come all the way from America, they come all the way from New York to see our Lord. He says, this means so much to me. He says, I want to invite you to come and stay in our home. Would you come and stay in our home? We would be honored to have you as guests. And
I would be like, yep. What's for dinner?
But he was actually so kind. Then I saw that part of India that like you really don't see in America, where like a stranger just comes and says, come stay with us,
Right.
like just based on their piety and their appreciation,
Right.
it was really quite beautiful to see. And I kind of felt like, well, I had already been in the temple. So in one sense, I had that experience. I was fortunate. My wife didn't, but it was kind of like I began to realize, I think that's why I ended up coming there, right? It was like to see this man and witness in one sense, you had the priest who's supposed to be the person that's more deeply spiritual, who's seeing the soul, not seeing the body, got this deeper spiritual vision. But it's common that like the person in that position, sometimes they would develop pride. Sometimes it's like Whereas the police officer, who's kind of more like the menial kind of like person in the
Yeah.
equation.
Not the religious character in the
Yeah.
mix.
Yeah, but you could see that actually he really had something in his heart. He had humility, he had kindness. He seemed to me to really possess the qualities of a deeply spiritual person in such a special and generous way. And just to witness him, to me, it was like worth it to go just for that, to meet him.
Yeah. This is the wives of the Brahmin, the famous story from the 10th canto of the Bhagavatam.
Yeah.
Here is the Brahmins. They are the theologians. They are the scholars. They are the pundits. They're doing rituals. And Krishna, when they do these rituals, they put coconuts and papayas and fruits around these big sacred sacrificial fires. So here's Krishna and Balaram. Who are Krishna and Balaram? They're the personality of Godhead. There's the reason why we're doing the sacrifice in the first place. But when they came and said, I'm hungry, they were chased away by the priests. And until they were sent to the wives of the Brahmins, and the wives were simple, uneducated, caring for the kids, just doing menial tasks around the house. But they heard Krishna and Balaram were hungry. They jumped at the opportunity to serve Krishna and Balaram. And it's the classic story of, it's not what you know. It's not the quality of your intelligence, right?
It's not your position in society.
It's not your position. That's right. It's the quality of your heart that counts. That's where we're going. That's the win. Not to memorize the Bhagavad Gita. Who cares? You could be a total jerk and memorize the Bhagavad Gita or the Bible or whatever. And sometimes it's the people, like Kosuba was saying, in those positions, they're learning it to lord over other people, per se. So whenever we do any type of, and we teach this with our students here too, if you're learning harmonium, we're not here to be a rock star with the harmonium. We're not here to do this to like, hey, check me out. I'm going to play this cool Eastern instrument. You're all going to sing to it, and I'm going to be the star. These are prayers that we're offering. This is, and that's why it's important to study philosophy with kirtan, philosophy with all the things that we do, but understand the goal of philosophy is devotion. We don't become devoted to become great philosophers. That's the other way around.
Right. And one of the beautiful things about that passage in the Bhagavatam that you're describing, the wives of the Yugnik Brahmins, right? The wives of these priests, is at the end kind of like I don't want to say villain, but the kind of like the bad guys in the story, in a sense, who were the priests.
Yeah.
In the end, they actually say, what were we doing? Like they had the humility to say, like, what are we thinking here?
What are we thinking?
Like we're sitting here thinking we're the big priests and we know everything. We're so special and we're more holy. But our wives are actually, they don't know all the mantras that we know. They haven't done all the austerities that we've done. But actually, their hearts are pure. They understand the essence of all of this far better than we do. They were able to, like, frankly admit it.
It's a reoccurring theme in
Bhagavatam, especially
in Bhagavatam, all these stories in Bhakti. The heart is what counts. Now you can easily take that to some extreme where you throw out all philosophy. It's important to have the philosophy. It's important to learn the rituals. It's important to learn the mantras, but it's meant to serve devotion and not the other way around.
Yes. Agreed. Yes.
Mara, did we jump right over your announcements?
Yes, we did.
Okay. How are you, Mara? How's your experience? Guess what? Me and Mara were going for a simple japa walk, and we were
simple japa walk.
Simple, harmless japa walk this morning because my puffy arm is still a little puffy.
That means a meditative walk.
Meditative walk with our japa beads. Sometimes we do a little japa talk.
Chanting mantra.
Yes, and we sneak in a little japa talk in that japa walk. And Radhaswami immediately caught hold of us and said, let's go for a walk. Had a 3.5 hour walk with Radhaswami this morning. It was unbelievable.
Beautiful.
Mara was floating on a cloud.
It was amazing.
You want to share anything about it?
I was going to share takeaways.
Takeaways, announcements. She's already got some.
How about any takeaways from our walk?
He was just so sweet and joyful. One of my favorites was when he was talking about the 9 practices of bhakti. and was saying "Pada Savanam," and
Which
about how
means
the
to serve the lotus feet, to saving them to serve the padam, the feet.
He was saying your podcast is Pada Savanam. Get it? You're saving them with your podcast. It was pretty good word smithing on Radha Swami's part.
it was really cute. Oh, it was sweet. All right. So announcements. We have a Bhakti Recovery Group meeting today at 1 p.m. We have Ariel Castillo offering an asana class for our Patreon members at 10 a.m. today. And our showtime will be at this time at 6:30 a.m. Eastern time all week, except for Friday. There won't be a show.
Friday.
Do you know
What's going on Friday?
We're going to Elefanta.
Oh, Elefanta.
We're going to Elefanta.
How about live from Elefanta?
Live from Elefanta. No, we're going to take the day off. I'm going to go on a ferry. And when I say ferry, I mean a boat that's about to sink into the Arabian Sea. Everyone's just like, I'm unsigning up for that trip. Yeah, we just chant all the way across to this island that when I think the Portuguese came, they first came to this island. It was an abandoned island. And there are these massive basalt cave carvings. And I'm no tourist so much, but this is a great, cool spot.
Okay.
It's this massive Shiva cave with all these different pastimes in the caves. And yeah, and now it's just sort of like you go out there and a few people live there and it's a tourist place, but it's a very cool
Monkeys are
tourist
over there,
place.
right? They got monkeys.
You got monkeys. They got monkeys. They've got rickety boats. And we just sing on the boat the entire time.
Nice.
Nice.
All right. So no show Friday.
No show Friday. We're going to Mumbai.
Oh, you know whose birthday it is today?
No,
not Christine.
what's the date? What's the date?
It's coming up. It's January 16th.
Who?
Bunky Brahmachari.
Oh, Bunky
Oh,
Brahmachari.
Happy
Harry
birthday.
Ball.
If you're listening, Bunky Brahmachari.
Shout out to Bunky Brahmachari, my old assistant. Miss him dearly. Miss you. Love you. All right. That's
Ready?
all she's got. Isn't it great having Jiva life coach in here? We have these
Yeah.
BRG meetings all the time. If you haven't heard of BRG, some people are getting a lot of, what's the word? No, we're getting a lot of support. We're getting a lot of shelter. The BRG. Check out bhaktirecoverygroup.com. Airball. Ready?
Yeah.
Narayanam namaskrityam naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayam mudirayat. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances to the Supreme Lord Narayan. Unto Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and to Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nasta prayeshva bhadreshu nityam bhagavat sevaya bhagavati uttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtiki. By regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam and by rendering service to the pure devotees, all that is troublesome in the heart will become eradicated, and loving service to the Supreme Lord, who is praised with transcendental songs, will be established as an irrevocable fact. Om Jnana Timarandasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chaksurun Madatam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance, and my teachers are opening my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my obeisances at their lotus feet.
Reading from Canto 5, Chapter 2, Text 1.
But
You're on your
actually,
chapter.
yeah. But I think I mentioned to you earlier, this is an unusual chapter.
Oh, I thought you said you were going to skip it.
Well, that's what I thought. We might just kind of summarize very quickly what happens in chapter.
Why don't you
2.
summarize it then? Because sometimes the Bhagavatam goes into some detail that.
Well, so again, what this whole canto is going to be, or at least much of it, I think all of it, is it's going down a branch of a particular dynasty, right?
Yeah.
That's stemming from Swayambhuva Manu through his son, and then down. So in the previous chapter, we heard about Maharaj Priyavrata.
Mm-hmm.
That was chapter 1. Now, chapter 2 is all about one of his sons. I think his name is Agnidara. Let me just make sure. Agnidara. Agnidra. And basically all the chapter is it describes he's out in the forest, kind of like by the foot of a mountain, and he's doing some practices. And Lord Brahma, understanding his desire, sends a very beautiful heavenly damsel his way.
Heavenly damsel.
Yeah, and much of the chapter is just him. It seems like it was a simpler time in ways, like people were very upfront and honest about their feelings, and he expressed his feelings very frankly to her, how beautiful he felt she was, and
So he what was he doing in the first place?
he was basically out there just performing spiritual austerities and some
Okay, so he's a
practices.
spiritual guy. Then all of a sudden,
Spiritual, but
beautiful temptress comes from outer space.
I don't even know if it was exactly like that. It just seems to me like it's Lord Brahma's response. This is very early.
Pretty interesting because if you think about it, if she's a heavenly damsel,
Yeah.
Another way to translate that is a person from outer space came.
She was an alien.
Because that's what it is.
Yes.
Celestial heavens means outer space.
Yes.
Imagine if a person from outer space came to tempt you.
Yeah, well, that's what happened.
That's what happened. Okay.
But I
think that makes the story a little bit more interesting.
Okay.
Personally.
Okay.
Tempted by an alien.
It's like Star Trek or something.
Yeah.
And
yes, there always was a temptress on Star Trek.
So
Like
anyway,
incredibly beautiful but green. But you're like, should I love a green woman? Yes.
All right. Here we go. Okay. So, but the way that I understand it, just seems to me like it's Lord Brahma's responsibility to get the procreation moving, and so it just seems like he was just kind of like almost like a like a mother or mother-in-law might just kind of like, hey, you got to meet this girl. You could wait till you meet my nephew, or like that kind of, it's like he's kind of like putting them together,
trying to set up.
Yeah. So I think
matchmaker.
I think he understood the heart of Agnidra, and he sent this very beautiful, and I say beautiful, it speaks of her beauty a lot, but obviously like a deeply special being. And when he sees her, he just expresses exactly how he feels in detail. And she's quite flattered, and they have lots of kids. And that was chapter 2.
That was it. You know what? We're a little complicated now in how we go about our dating process.
So I figured I wouldn't put you through the austerity of having to read all his descriptions of her and all his feelings of her, but it's basically what I said.
Why have we made marriage so complicated in our culture?
Well,
it's very complicated.
I suppose. Well,
date for years. I'm not sure. Yeah, sort of sure. I'm sure. I'm not sure anymore. You know what I mean? People in India, they meet 4 days, and they're with each other for a whole life.
Does it always work out perfect?
Oh, wait, the divorce rate is so low until recently. Come on, Neil, right? Neil, what about your parents, Neil? Your parents. Okay. Neil's
Really?
here
Whoa.
from Goa.
Look at that. Well, there you go.
Say again. All right.
Did you set that up?
Wait, now you set that up. All right, Neil, get over here quick. Get in the microphone. I want to hear this. Move over. Okay, welcome, Neil.
Hi, Bull.
I met Neil in Italy, and here with his nice wife, Avantika.
Yes.
And where are you from, actually?
From Huntington Beach.
No, you grew up in Huntington Beach?
Yeah, he was from Huntington Beach. Remember, we first met in L.A. in Long Beach, actually, briefly. We met at that.
Okay, so you're an American.
Yeah.
Oh, you're so American. I was like, this guy's so American. I was like, but you are American. Okay, that's why. All right, so you're from a Hindu family, obviously. Do they worship Krishna?
They do, and Lord Swaminarayan.
And Swaminarayan. Okay, so question: how old were they when they met? About.
All right, they have actually a crazy story. My dad was 26. He was working for Ford in India, in the US. He got sent from India to America to get a job. And he had 8 brothers and sisters.
Eight
brothers and sisters.
Oh,
I thought you said 8,000
too. Like 8,000. I was like,
this is really.
That's
what I was gonna say.
Yeah.
8 brothers and sisters.
And he was the oldest. So everyone in India was waiting for him to get married because his wife is going to be the mother of like all his siblings, basically. Like she was going to take care of them. So then he told his family back in India, you find 3 women, I'll meet all three of them when I come back for my winter holidays from Ford in
Right.
Michigan, and I'll pick one of those, and then I'll get married to that.
Kind of like the dating game.
I'll take bachelorette number 2.
So he came back. He met all three.
Yeah.
He couldn't decide which one. They were all pretty interesting for him.
Now,
And
you don't even get to be in one of those 3 unless you have a perfect astrological fang,
so
correct?
2 of them was like the perfect astrological. The third one
But he
was
picked
my
bachelorette number
mom.
3.
My dad's name's Kishore Shah. My mom's name is Kishori Shah.
Kishori.
Yeah, and there was the milkman at my parents' house in Baroda. My dad's house knew a milkman at my mom's house in Jagadia, and they heard about this bachelor in America who's like a good-looking guy in America, kid catch. And my mom's dad was like a Gita poet, like he would just
Pundit.
recite. But
Call them pundits.
yeah,
Pundits.
pundit, yeah, pundit.
What do they call them in Huntington Beach? Pundits, right?
And then my mom was there. She wasn't like being forced to get married, but then the milkman talked to my grandfather and said, "Hey,
The
this guy's
milkman put it
amazing.
together.
You should just send him over for bachelorette number 3." And
Wow.
And
And
so-
so how
so how it all worked out was pretty crazy. He, on the day, a couple hours before his flight to America, everyone was asking, "Who are you gonna marry? Who are you gonna marry?" And he couldn't decide. So my grandmother says, "I'm gonna write all 3 names on pieces of paper, and your youngest sister is gonna pick."
only in India this stuff happens.
And
This
he said,
this
"Let-
does not happen in Chicago.
said, let God decide. It's
Let
it's
God
gonna be.
decide.
And so my dad said, "Okay, let God decide." And so he picks Kishori, and everyone's really happy because they seemed like they only met her for 15 minutes. Or
Great
something. They
name
seemed
matchup.
nice. And then he moved back. He came back to the U.S. She moved in with his family to get to know them while her visa was coming. They wrote letters to each other for every single day for 4 months. So they have
Wow.
hundreds of letters in Gujarati at her house.
Have
He
you read
came
those
back for
letters?
the wedding, and everything worked out. They loved my mom.
Wait,
all
so
that. Yeah.
when did they meet?
They met on that trip.
On the
on
first
that trip
time.
for that
15 minutes.
Yeah, with the family for 15 minutes alone, and then larger family for like maybe 25, 30 minutes. And then after all of that, everyone was happy, said Kishori is the best pick. So glad it's happened. God chose the right woman. And my grandmother was laughing. And she's like, "What?" And everyone's like, "What are you laughing about?" She's like, "I put Kishori on all 3 pieces." of paper."
Ah.
It's a true story.
But pretty good. So they've been married for how many years?
50 years.
Huh.
as of-
50 years.
50 years.
Lots of marriage counseling.
No.
No, not at all.
No.
Mara asked, is it a good astrological match?
You know what? They never checked their charts because
never
she was the third. The other 2, there was the fit, but she was the wild card. She
Wild
came in.
Well,
card.
you know-
sometimes you go with the wild card. That's a takeaway.
Go with the wild card.
Great story. 15 minutes. That's all you need.
But I'll tell you something, right? What that makes me think is that, like, I think if we say this to the average Western people, they're going to think, absolutely not. This is insane. This is the person that I'm going to be spending the rest of my
I
life.
get it.
Right.
I get it.
But I think, understand, you see, what the Western mind may not understand is that they have just a different mindset.
Right.
You know, so like if I've grown up watching Western
Titanic?
movies and it's like I've been brought up on this idea that I have this special soulmate out there. And the purpose of this marriage is the fulfillment of all my desires.
Right.
Right. So then I'm gonna be very particular about who that person is, and I'm gonna try to find someone based on my desires, my material illusory desires. Whereas the idea here is kind of more like I need a partner in Dharma, right? If this person is dharmic and is a good person, then they're a candidate, you know, and that could be many people, and together we'll move forward together. And
Sure.
so it might not be such a difficult thing to understand. Like, I'm going to meet a person, we're going to hear a little bit about them, and then we're going to have to make a decision, and then we're going to move forward. It's
I have to ask, just to add in the studio audience here, Avantika, good story with your parents? Okay, get over here. Get over here. Are they still married? Okay, get over here. Ah.
Raghunath's favorite
We're gonna
topic
get to the
is
bottom of
arranged
this right
marriage.
now. We got our 2.
She's like, I was not
We got
expecting
our
this.
2 resident Indians. Come here. This is Avantika. Where are you originally from, Avantika?
From Delhi.
You're from Delhi. Okay, so you
Delhi
didn't grow
Wala.
up in America.
No.
Now, did you guys have a love marriage or a? Oh,
Love marriage.
naughty, naughty.
Handsome American
Handsome American.
from California.
Okay. All right. So, anyway, we're not going to talk about your marriage. We're going to talk about your parents' marriage. Where were they from?
They're both from Delhi. And theirs was like, someone in the family knew someone else in the other side of the family, and they're both doctors, so it was a good match. And so that's how they got together. And they've been together now 35 years.
How many dates did they go on? Were they courting for? Did they go on some trips together to Bali, perhaps, or something like that?
I've heard of stories of my dad like taking my mom on bike rides after her
Innocent.
doctor
Yeah.
duty, and they would go for movies together or
A little
go
bit of
to,
dating.
Connaught Place in Delhi, if you've been there,
Connaught
to
Place.
Wenger's for a dessert, but very sweet, innocent kind of dating.
They went for a bike ride. That's beautiful.
No sleepovers.
No sleepovers. No. It's like no sleepovers, no way. All right, another success story. Thank you,
Avantika.
Avantika. Glad you're here.
Glad you're
I
here.
love
Glad it all
this.
worked out, and that you're here with us today.
I love this. What?
I love
Why
it.
are we so dented in our world? Like the most
Look at
dented-
Ragnar's lighting up right now. It's like
It's interesting.
we had to start arranging marriages.
It's interesting.
Well, actually,
Hey, people come to me all the time.
I have something I have to say, Ragnar.
What?
That a regular Wisdom of Sages listener.
Let's get married.
Hold the phone.
me.
Yeah. She was a regular. She was a Zoomer,
Yeah.
I believe, and she was born and raised in Ukraine,
Yeah.
right? And unfortunately, her city was it was I forget the name of the city. It begins with an M, but it was the first city.
Yeah.
Mariupol.
Yeah. Is that how you pronounce it?
Yeah. We
Mariupol?
mentioned, we said prayers for her on the show.
That's right. That's right. So her, she was living in Cyprus already, but her city was just getting bombed heavily.
Demolished. Yeah.
And she had to leave Cyprus. We met her on one of the Italy retreats, not this past one, but the one before that.
And then she came on a Nepal retreat with us.
Oh, she went with you to Nepal.
and an India trip.
Yeah.
No, that was the same.
No,
She
that was
came
the
to India
same.
with us
Oh, yeah,
a few
that's
days
right.
Before Nepal.
Yes. Yes.
And then she reached out to me saying, I'm going to have to leave Cyprus, and I can't return home to Ukraine.
There's no city where I live anymore. Everything's been demolished.
Most people are trying to get out. It's the last place where you want to go in. And so she said, but I would like to go to the Govardhan Eco Village. Could you help me? Is there anything you can do to help me go there? So I said, well, it's I don't think it's a place that's very easy just to move to, that they don't necessarily just accept anyone there, but certainly your situation, especially, I can write a letter or make a couple phone calls. And see. So I reached out to Hari Priya here, and then she asked me to reach out to Radha Swami. I reached out to Radha Swami, and they welcomed her with open arms.
Wow.
To spend a year here or something like that.
She's great.
She's a wonderful, beautiful young lady. But what do we do here at Wisdom of the Sages, Raghunath?
We make matches.
We make dreams come true.
We make dreams come true. We make dreams come true.
So she met a devotee that we knew here already, right? Nimai Leela, who was a really wonderful devotee who at the Eco Village, especially what I always saw him doing was taking people on tours of the Eco Village, especially busloads of children that come in from the cities. They come in the busloads, and he would take them on the tour and explain about ecological issues and devotional issues and tying it all together and really giving the young people of Mumbai a really good idea about something that they may not learn in school. And it's about simple living and high thinking, about yogic lifestyle, about and how that all ties in ecologically and all that.
He's a great speaker. He's incredibly learned. I think he's like an engineer. He's like a super genius.
Yeah. And so these two hit it off, and
they fell in love, and they're getting married.
And they're getting married in a few days. It's going to be a big thing. We'll all be there for.
There's
we'll
a big
all be here
Mendi
for
party
the wedding,
for all the ladies tomorrow.
Yeah.
Woo!
So that's
So,
a
yeah.
love marriage.
We should do live at the weddings. Wisdom of the Sages.
We could just
Wouldn't
be
that
like
great?
commentators. And now the garlands have come out.
And now they've tied the sari, they've tied the knot, and they're walking around the flames.
Here's step number 2. Step number 3.
Number 3.
Step number 7. They're married.
They're going to take each other. Anyway, can we take any credit for that? I guess we
Yes,
can
we
take some
can.
credit for that marriage.
She's
Stuba
offering
got her
all
in the
credit.
door.
She's offering us all credit. She says, only because of you. Really? Like that.
Only because of you? That's partial credit.
No,
I
and
didn't
you.
get
I
any-
think
did I
you're
get any
included.
credit? in that?
Well,
Wisdom of
as far as
sages.
I'm
Okay.
concerned.
All right.
Yeah. All right.
All right, Vicky.
All right. So in any case, that was chapter 2 of the 5th canto, is the meeting and the marriage and the offspring of Agnidra and his wife Mayur Devi.
So now when you hear these stories of meeting a heavenly alien damsel and they immediately, quote, fall in love or fall into marriage, it's not so weird.
Yeah.
Their parents did it. 15 minutes.
Okay.
Neil's parents, 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Could happen.
It can happen. It still happens today, right?
Yeah, it still happens.
Okay.
And it's not that peculiar.
Okay. So that brings us to chapter 3.
Okay.
Chapter 3 is entitled,
What?
Rishabdev's appearance in the womb of Mayur Devi, the wife of King Nabhi.
Ooh.
Okay, actually, I mixed that up. Mayur, the King Agnidra married a lady named something. I have to go back and find it, but
Okay, it's all right.
But in any case, their children. One of them was Nabhi, that was the eldest son.
Yeah.
And he married the daughter of Meru, who's named Mayur Devi.
Gotcha.
And now we're going to hear about them in this chapter. But you know what happened? Let's just go ahead and start reading, and we're going to hit some good stuff here. We're going to hear about the priests, kind of related to what we were talking about earlier. And Lord Vishnu is going to appear. They're going to start to speak to him.
Okay. Text 1. Sukadeva Goswami continued to speak. Maharaj Nabhi, the son of Agnidra, wished to have sons, and therefore he attentively began to offer prayers and worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Vishnu, the master and enjoyer of all sacrifices. Maharaj Nabhi's wife, Meru Devi, who had not given birth to any children at that time, also worshiped Lord Vishnu along with her husband. There is an appropriate way to get pregnant and a
You're getting a little judgmental here.
there are more auspicious ways to conceive,
All right.
and of course, less auspicious ways to conceive.
All right.
But the Vedic way is the idea is you're calling a soul into the womb.
That's right.
You're calling a particular soul.
There's a level of awareness there about what's going on.
I
That's-
like that.
Yeah.
I like that.
Okay.
You should have a level of a consciousness. Just like if you're about to go on the altar, you want I don't want to go on the altar to do some puja or some worship if I haven't bathed.
Right.
If I'm wearing dirty clothes, etc. Same thing with conception. There's the consciousness should be in a high place.
Mm.
There's many rituals, dude. I know, and Prabhupada said you chant 64 rounds.
So he simplified it.
What did he say?
He simplified.
He
the whole thing.
simplified all the rituals. You chant 64 rounds.
I think I asked you one time about this, and
Yeah, I said after 64 rounds, I don't want to conceive.
No, I asked
It's
you.
like, I'm like,
I started asking you if your children were 64 rounders or not.
Hare Krishna.
Okay. They're wonderful children, whatever they were. I'll say that. Okay.
They were conceived very auspiciously. I
question.
will leave it at that.
No question.
I prefer not to
To
tell
go into
my
detail.
love-making
I should not
secrets
know
publicly in front of 12,000 people.
I wasn't asking about the love making.
But all these things matter. Time of day, the consciousness of
That's
the
right.
man and the wife,
Yes.
your desire. Are you eager to have a child?
Mm,
Are you is it just for fun?
right.
Right. Of course, there's so many reasons, horrible reasons why when people have sex. There's, passionate reasons why people have sex, and there's like holy reasons why people have sex.
Right.
I can't think of anything higher than I'm calling a child into the womb.
Mm.
So they do the classic thing. The classic Vedic thing is you worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
Right.
You're internally cleansing yourself, and that is going to call a particular soul in the womb.
Were they trying to call Lord Vishnu himself to be their child? Is that what this is saying? Continue reading. Let's see what this
All
goes.
right. Text 2. In the performance of a sacrifice, there are 7 transcendental means to obtain the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. 1, by sacrificing valuable things or eatables.
2,
2, by acting in terms of place.
3,
By acting in terms of time.
4,
By offering hymns.
5,
By going through the priest.
6,
By offering gifts to the priest.
7,
By observing the regulative principles. However, one cannot always obtain the Supreme Lord through this paraphernalia. Nonetheless, the Lord is affectionate to his devotee. Therefore, when Maharaj Nabi, who was a devotee, worshipped and offered prayers to the Lord with great faith and devotion, and with a pure, uncontaminated mind, superficially performing some yajna in the line of pravargya, the kind Supreme Personality of Godhead, due to his affection for his devotees, appeared before Nabi in his unconquerable and captivating form with 4 hands. Imagine that.
That's the Vishnu form.
In this way, to fulfill the desire of his devotee, the Supreme Personality of God had manifested himself in his beautiful body before his devotee. This body pleases the mind and eyes of the devotees. Just imagine that. You're chanting your japa or whatever you're doing to, offering some food, even offering food. Sometimes you're like ringing a little bell. Just Krishna just appears. Thank you. Would that be great? Would it be great to have Krishna appear right in front of you?
Well, I was thinking when I read this earlier. Well, first of all, it's making a point that it was similar to what we were talking about earlier, is that there's precision in the ritual and what you're offering and all this to try to achieve a certain goal. But in the end, what it's saying, some people don't have these things to offer, or they don't have the perfect time or the perfect place.
Right.
But what was mentioned here, it had less to do with that. And it said, however, one can always obtain the Supreme Lord through this one. It says, nonetheless, the Lord is affectionate to his devotees. Therefore, when Maharaj Nabi, who was a devotee, worshipped and offered prayers to the Lord with great faith and devotion, and with a pure, uncontaminated mind, right? He didn't want things other than pleasing God. Then that's what made the difference. That was the essence of it all, right? It wasn't the precision in the ritual; it was the feeling behind it. But when I was reading this, I was thinking, again, this is very early on in the history of the development of the universe, is what's being said. And these were people that would see the devas. They would see Lord Brahma come. They would see. But when Lord Vishnu appeared, he was just of a total another level. His beauty, and again, and we're going to hear more about that form, I believe, in the following verses. But whenever we hear this description of Lord Vishnu, it happens again and again in Bhagavatam. We see that when God, right, and this is the conception. Bhagavatam is going to say that God manifests in 3 ways, right?
Yeah.
What are they?
Mara?
The Paramatma,
Paramatma is 1. Brahman is 2.
and Bhagavan.
Bhagavan is 3.
Boom, Mara. Woo! Let's hear it, studio audience. Come on, Mara.
Thank you. So,
studio audience. I really feel like this is Let's Make a Deal or something.
This is what you've been waiting for.
I've been waiting my whole life for this. A game, my own game show. It would be great if you win prizes like every day. New prize.
Or boons.
Boons.
Or boons. I give boons.
Okay. But what was I saying?
I don't know.
Oh yeah. So God manifests in 3 ways. He manifests as Brahman, as like all pervasive energy. You can know God in that feature, if that's your inclination, right? Or Paramatma, that God is within the heart of every living being. Or Bhagavan, God the person, right? And so we're hearing like how God the person manifests, in front of someone. And he's not that judge that we're all afraid of, or, he's what he is as soon as you see him, you feel like waves of just like pleasure. Like now I'm seeing the most beautiful vision I've ever seen. And I'm feeling, I'm seeing the beauty, obviously, and I'm feeling the power but I'm also recognizing in that being peace, contentment, love. He's always got this sweet smile on his face. It's like there's nothing to fear. It's
Yeah,
just
it's not like a fear-based
yeah.
visual. It's like it's a overwhelming joy and like beauty, and like you can't even describe it, and your voice
Yeah.
is faltering.
Yeah, yeah.
And he's like so excited. Like, I've been waiting for this my whole life.
This is the best. This
It's the
I've
best.
ever
Don't go
been-
away.
Yeah. So that's what's happening. So text 3 begins this description, I believe.
What's going on there? You know how to work that mouse. Lord Vishnu appeared before King Nabi with 4 arms. He was very bright, and he appeared to be the best of all personalities. Around the lower portion of his body, he wore a yellow silken garment, and on his chest was the mark of Srivatsa, which always displays beauty. He carried 4 things. Mara, you tell the world.
Okay. Conch shell,
Yeah.
a lotus,
2,
a club,
3.
a chakra.
There you go. 4.
Conch shell, lotus, disc, and club. He wore a garland of forest flowers and the Kastuba gem.
Mm.
We got our own Kastuba gem.
The servant.
He was beautifully decorated with a helmet, earrings, bangles, a belt.
No, Rugged's running.
Not the belt. I'm going through all the belts.
It wasn't your
I've ever
ELO
owned with belt buckles.
belt buckle.
Not those belts. Pearl necklace, armlets, ankle bells, and other bodily ornaments bedecked with radiant jewels. Seeing the Lord present before them, King Nabi and his priests and associates felt just like poor people who have suddenly attained great riches.
Wow. That's the feeling, right?
It's like,
It's like I got everything that I need. Now I have.
fully satisfied.
Yeah.
I'm finally getting my thirst quenched. They received the Lord and respectfully bent their heads and offered him things in worship.
Okay, I think we're out of time now, Raghunath.
Ah,
Yeah, but we got the vision of the Lord. We can come back tomorrow.
that's a good thing. Vision of the Lord. Alien temptress.
And
Can't get
arranged
that
marriages.
vision out of my mind. Do you know an episode I'm talking about? The green
I
alien?
never watched too many of those, but I've seen
Gotcha.
enough to know that kind of thing was going on.
It was going on.
I know Kirk had a reputation.
Kirk had a reputation for green alien temptresses.
Yes.
Okay, Mara. Grounded.
You know,
now.
Captain Kirk, what's his name?
William Shatner.
Well, he's taken he has an interest in bhakti and yoga.
Say?
Yeah, yeah.
What?
Oh,
Come
no.
Oh, did Marge meet him?
That's right.
Marge met William Shatner. Harry Ball.
I mean, I don't know how far it goes, but he's definitely, brought forward questions and shown some interest.
Interesting.
Kirk.
Leonard Nimoy still alive?
Trekkie over there.
Trekkie over there.
Just knows.
Okay. DCW's live here. It's great.
That is great. Okay, takeaways. It's not about how things look externally. It's about what happens in our hearts.
True.
True.
Any occupation can embody the topmost spiritual qualities. Even a policeman.
Oh, yeah, that's where that's coming from. Gotcha.
True.
It's not the quality of your intelligence or position. It's the quality of your heart.
That's right.
You know, I hate everybody writing truth. You know, you're like, you write something on Instagram and they're like, truth,
Facts.
facts.
Or
Word.
this.
I'll go back to word. Word's okay. I'm okay with word. Not that that makes any
Word
sense.
heard.
What else?
Word
That
heard.
makes no sense. Word.
No word.
But truth is just facts. I don't like it.
Get over it, Rugger.
The goal of philosophy is devotion.
Yeah.
Okay.
Word.
Word. Word heard.
Humbly understand the essence of the rituals and mantras.
Word up.
Word up. That was even dumber, but I like that even more. Word up. There was that song too.
Word up.
God is affectionate and kind, not scary.
Not scary. God's not scary.
Okay. And
God protects you from scary.
Sometimes you go with the wild card.
Sometimes you go with the wild card. Harry Bull. Thanks, Neil. Thanks everybody joining us live. Look at the crew we got here.
Good crew.
Good crew.
Incredible crew.
And thanks to everybody joining us still at Zoom, still hanging out there at home. Appreciate all you guys. Appreciate this Wisdom of the Sages community. You can join us live sometime too. Next time you're going to do is meet us live. We'll be in Italy. You got to write WOTS Italy at gmail.com. WOTS Italy at gmail.com, or go to wisdomofthesages.com. Go to the events tab. Check it out. You got to sign up and leave a deposit or ask for more info quick because it'll sell out. Thanks, everybody. You're beautiful people. It's kirtan time. It's a beautiful day, but a beautiful day. Let the magic continue to flow.